Hello and welcome to the video. Before we get started, if you'd like to provide input on future content and get our weekly newsletter, click on our survey. The link will be below. We also have a report on Ethereum 2, along with a bonus report on why you should learn Solidity now. Again, the link will be below. Now on to the video, and thank you. Okay, so today we're going to talk about creating the classes for our little project here. And I had to kind of refresh my memory a little bit because I'm more used to Java classes than NodeJS classes. So the first one I did was just a basic account class that has the ID and the balance. Now we may add more stuff later on. The way I called it class account, and then I added what I needed, and then I did this. There's no setting, no having to declare variables ahead of time there. And this is also important. This is exporting it so you know that so another class can use it. Now you can also export individual methods, but that's not, I have not done that. Another way of doing it, and this is more the JavaScript way, is here. Now here I put I was actually running the class, but you can see I said let equals class and do it this way. And then I created a blockchain class, which obviously is just the beginning, and it's going to take the account and the block class as inputs. Actually, what it would really end up taking eventually, I was just doing this more of a test to see if it can take how to, make sure I'm passing classes correctly. But what we're going to have to create is essentially what amounts to, I guess, a hash type list, or a list where you pass in an ID or something of that nature and get the item out. This is my block class, and this is the start. The ID of the block, the previous, the next, the from address, the to address. Actually, this is also a block would have multiple transactions. This would be one transaction. So actually, technically, let me change this name to transaction, because this is really a transaction class, And change this to transaction here. And then what we're going to do is save this. There we go. And now with the main, what I'm going to do is, of course, change this to transaction.js. This is, again, my transaction class, and so let's see, having made these changes, if it, I'll talk about them. Let's see, file, save. Gets a little confusing here. So what I'm doing here is telling it about these other classes. Here, I'm creating an account, a block, and then a blockchain with the accounts. The block, of course, is really a transaction, but again, we're still just in the testing phase here. And then I'm logging to see that I actually have the value. Remember, a block would have a bunch of transactions in it. A block will not just have one transaction. So let's see. I did have the debugger attached. So we're going to go, and then we're going to create our, and as you can see, it worked. So the next step, of course, would be creating our groups of accounts and blocks. And basically what you need is a structure where you can just add accounts and add blocks in, and then pull them out from the ID. And when you add a block, you can, the block is a de facto linked list, or is sort of a linked list. A linked list is when you have one item, one object points, has in it the address of the previous object. So everything is linked together. So it would be object A, let's say you'd have object A, and then object B would have a pointer to object A, and then object C would have a pointer to object B, etc., etc., etc. That would be a little clunky. We want to be able to pull blocks and transactions and all this stuff out as based on the ID. So obviously you would use a structure that would essentially have an ID tied to a list of IDs tied to objects. And then when you create a new block, actually, here's something that's wrong. This is transaction would not have previous and next, right? It wouldn't have those in there. That would be in the actual block, which is going to be a set you're going to have within the block, a set of transactions. And so this is in fact, that's better. That looks more like what we want. And actually, I don't think it would have validated. I think validate would be, again, in the block. Yeah, well, that's going to be the next step. I think we have to construct our actual block as opposed to our transaction, and then construct our set of addresses. And they're going to be part of the blockchain itself. So you're going to have the set of blocks and the set of addresses, and you probably will have some other thing. Well, and then a node is going to have the set of the blockchain, and the node is going to have the very important is the stake. And because remember, you use the stake as a way of determining who has the ability, or who is it affects the way I'm doing it. It's going to affect the probability of that node being selected to create the block, and therefore get the fee involved. Now, that's another thing with being a block. So that is where we're going. I think validated. I think all we want as a transaction is ID to and from, and maybe some other things. But validated, you validate blocks. So anyway, this is kind of a shorter one, but hopefully this has been helpful. And you can see how I was able to use the debugger. And this is a work in progress here, okay? And how far I get depends on my schedule for this particular week. Hopefully I'll have a little bit more time after Thursday. I am getting out finishing getting out the Solidity class. So that should be upcoming. I have a meeting on Thursday with my business mentor, and I told him I would get that thing pretty much done by Thursday, and then we can move on from there. So once I have it done, then I have to get everything the way I want it, and then I will let you all know when it's available, if that's something that you may be interested in. So anyway, again, hopefully this has been helpful, and I will speak to you next time. Take care.